Welcome to episode 281 of the Emergent Gamer Podcast. I'm Felix Hergood, and I'm here with two of our hosts, Trip Zero.
That's me. What's up, guys? Trip Zero. Thanks for being here.
And Neo Aoshi.
Hello, Felix Hergood.
Hi, how you doing? And our special guest, constant contributor to the Emergent Gamer Podcast, Diamondjab.
Hey, how is everyone?
There he is. Welcome to the show, Diamondjab. It's been a little bit, but you're a busy guy.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yeah. You're a pretty busy guy. You got a lot going on. You got a brand you're building, and I see you got a highly functional Discord server, which is pretty cool.
It's functioning for now, but as is the case with most things, it will stop functioning eventually, and then I'll have to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, so I think my main reason for I was in your chat. I guess we rated you last week or whatever, and then I was in your chat, and basically I talked about Cyberpunk a little bit, and then you were talking. I think maybe you were talking about it, and then I put my 2 cents in, and then I basically said you should come on our show and talk about it. So of all of the opinions on games that I have been deprived of in recent days, regarding a game that I enjoy immensely and play quite frequently, the one opinion I've been deprived of is yours. I've heard Trips, I've heard Neo's, I've heard Locks, I've heard the internet, and a lot of those people don't like it,
depending on where you are.
And they don't like it, but I hadn't got your take on it, and I value your take. I think I can speak for all of us when we say we all value your take on things, because you have a nice perspective. So we wanted to talk about that. So we want to talk about. We'll start off, I guess, talking a little bit about your experience with that game, and then we put 2 topics to you. One I'm unfamiliar with. It's related to Destiny, something going wrong in the Destiny community. Or the other one was the
love the business issue. Things don't change year over year. I mean, I could swear we had this conversation last year. Jesus, you might as well just take the recording from what we did before and just fast forward
it to the same thing every year. It's on a cadence. You can literally look at the calendar and predict what temperature people are going to be at and what the topics are most likely going to be based on what has already come out.
Business as usual. But go ahead.
Was that a hyperbole, me saying that there's some kind of like...
No, it's the norm for a lot of us. It's the norm, but we'll get into that. Yeah.
Or the other thing was CD Projekt. Now, this is not something I'm not too familiar with, Trip Zero. You said CD Projekt Red responded unfavorably to Jason Schreier.
So me and you last week on our duo show, Felix, we talked about CD Projekt Red's apology. Their we're really sorry. We're sorry video.
Did you see the picture that I did last week?
Yes. Yeah.
Dude. I'm sorry I never specifically reached out. I'm pretty sure I told people like physically in my life that it was amazing, but yeah, it was an incredible picture. He put the guy's face. He put the CEO's face on the body of the fake BP exec from that South Park episode, and in all the different poses, he was like laying on the ground, naked on the carpet on the bear rug, like we're sorry.
We're sorry.
Yeah, it was great work. But yeah, we talked about that, and there was another piece of news we didn't quite hit, but it happened in the same week, where Jason Schreier, who now writes for Bloomberg, put out his piece unveiling some of the secrets behind the development, because Jason Schreier has a way for people to talk to him. And
dude, he dropped
secret pigeon man. I don't know.
Yeah,
he dropped it at 1 a.m. on a Friday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why you guys didn't talk about it last week, because
I had to go.
My man was putting in them early hours.
Some hot news.
One of the claims in that is that the E3 demo, the first one we saw, the 40-minute playthrough of one of the early missions of the game, which was our first actual look at gameplay mechanics, at literally the field of view, the menu systems, whatever they had in progress right there. The story for that was that it was faked. It was put together. It wasn't real. It wasn't like someone controlling a game directly. It was like built and crafted there wasn't a lot more detail, so I just let everyone's minds kind of run. Like, what does that mean? Was it CGI that was just animated frame by frame? Like, what's the extent of fake? But this was responded to by Adam Badowski from CD Projekt Red. He responded to a lot of points of Jason Schreier's, but one of them was the fact that, of course, a demo is going to look different than the final product. Nothing is missing. It's feature evolution and things like that. And this got me thinking about just a wider discussion about what's the responsibility of developers to show us something that we're going to get if they're inviting us into the process of creation in the first place. Like, how mad can we get if a game comes out and it's different when they've showed us something 4 years ago and it's not that exactly when we get it? Like, what are we promised? What are we owed? What does that process entail? And who's responsible for what parts of it? I thought that was kind of interesting to pick your brain about, Diamond, because you're good at talking. So we love to do it with
out of all the skills to have. I'll take that one. That's not a
you're a conversationalist. That's what they call people that are good at
speech 100 in Skyrim. So
yes, exactly.
It's not a bad thing.
You probably buy things for very cheap too if your speech is at 100.
Sweet rolls are free.
There's a term. I'm trying
to. You cost you like $10.
There's a term in the 19th century that's not in fashion anymore, and I'm trying to remember what it is that they use to describe a person who can speak really well, and I can't. It's derogatory. It sounds derogatory. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up, and that's not it. I'm going to look it up while we're talking, and I'll figure it out.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
No, I didn't say the term. I have to look up the term. I'm saying, but there is a term for that, and I'm trying to remember what it is. It's not that word. That's a good word.
It's
in all respects. So
you ever play an RPG that lets you, like, as you level up, the title of your character changes? Like in Ghost of Tsushima, like you start and it's like the Wandering.
You have a subtitle to your your character.
I'm
then
just
like
a level 17 kind of linguist is what I am. So I'm on the way to whatever that 19th century term is.
I'll get to that.
There you go.
I'll figure out what it is.
But yeah, those are some things we can chat about here.
Yeah.
First of all, though, like we always do, besides reminding people to go follow our YouTube and subscribe to us so we can get our custom URL to make that process easier.
Please subscribe.
Besides that process, we usually talk about what we've been doing a little bit. If there are interesting things to talk about, Diamond, the floor is yours. What's up, man? How's your games? What are you playing? How's the streaming? What's new?
You know that I have to bring in my random innocuous Switch game that I play. Every time I come on, I got a Switch game.
You talked about Eat 8, and I never even heard about this series. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And
look, it's an expertise of mine. Now, mind you
want to buy that on the spot, so I'm very excited for whatever you got right now.
But for anyone wondering, East 9, Monstrous Nox is.
I saw that advertised on HEDQ and one of the lower left corners.
Just putting that out there. I'll keep it really quick. I am, I guess, late would be the term. I got Hades on the Switch, and I can't stop playing it. I can't.
I keep looking at it.
Hades is a game that just it abuses me constantly, and then I'll put it down and I'll ignore it for a day, and then I'll come back and go, I think I could deal with some more abuse. And then I just go in and I knock out like 4 or 5 floors. And I'm like, oh man, I've almost made it to this point. It's helped me appreciate people who play Dark Souls and actually like really like it. Because I never understood. I never found it appealing, at least for me. So playing Hades was like a game changer of going, oh wow, I kind of get when a really good system works in terms of letting death be the form of progression and what carries over and what doesn't and what repeats. It's been a really good experience. So
I haven't played this myself, but I do have a question for you about the experience. Because it's a rogue light or a rogue like, however it fits into that category where you play, you die out of necessity because you just literally can't come up against whatever you are fighting, but you earn some kind of progression in that instance to eventually overcome that mountain, that wall in front of you. But I've heard this game also ties it into the story in a way that makes it more engaging than a general roguelike, because I'm not a fan of that genre. It's I respect it totally, and I've watched like people play it, and it's very cool. It's not something that I really super enjoy if I'm going to put time into a game. But it sounded interesting the way they were forming a story around that experience and how that was how that was received by you playing it.
So I am 20, maybe 25 hours playing it, and I can confidently, without a doubt, say I have yet to hear repeat dialogue.
Okay.
Essentially, the general gist for anyone who doesn't know, Hades is essentially you are Hades' son. You figure out that Persephone, his mother, Hades' wife, is no longer there. So once the gods of Olympus learn of his existence, they're essentially supplying him with abilities and skills to get his way out of Tartarus, get his way out of the underworld and to Mount Olympus. So every time you go through different levels and different spaces where you're fighting enemies, and then eventually you reach the boss of that area. When you die, you end up going right back down to the bottom again.
Mm-hmm.
But the abilities that the Olympians give you don't carry over. But currency that you spend specifically on like passive carryover abilities, that carries over. But the gods will acknowledge not just what you've done, but what floor you're on, the god you talked to recently, if that god showed up first, whoever gave you the first ability, where you are within the overarching narrative, if you've reached a new enemy, if you've just fought an old enemy again, or you just beat them for the first time. So everyone seemingly has a reaction to something you've done. So as you progress through, the dialogue is always different. It's always unique to whatever that specific playthrough is. And because of that, they've spread out all of the items that you would use. So there's even more dialogue buried in different subsections. So while you only have access to 3 weapons, eventually you'll get access to a 4th, and then a 5th, and then a 6th, and then a 7th. And so gods in which their story or their narrative is tied to the weapon you're using will react to the weapon you brought into this play session. So because abilities and weapons and play styles are spread throughout the experience, my initial concern was, well, what happens if I suck and I'm just dying over and over and over and over and over again, and I'm not making any progress? Well, eventually they start dropping different like abilities, and those abilities are much stronger. It essentially takes the destiny concept of rare, legendary, exotic, and it makes it random through the experience. So now the ability that drops has a rare version, a legendary version, which is more potent, and an exotic version, which is even more potent than that. So if I suck, all of a sudden gods will start dropping legendary items. Or if I'm incredibly efficient, then gods will start dropping different items to essentially complete my skill tree. You're essentially building a skill tree from scratch. So the interesting part about it is that no matter what happens, the game is not cherry picking, but trying to figure out what the best ability to give based on whatever randomizers in place. And so if I'm just having a terrible day playing, all of a sudden it'll drop a purple ability from Persephone in which my melee attack does damage over time, but because it's purple, that base number is at an increased value. So now all of a sudden I'm more efficient than I was before.
The game is actively trying to balance your skill level with the items and the rewards that it gives you. Yep. So like if you're sucking, it's like, okay, here's a little pick me up.
Here's a little bump, because they want you to, the game it's very RPG in that you have to go somewhere. Like if you're just not very good, the game's going to start giving you things to make some type of progress. But the interesting thing that I found is if I'm doing really well, if I'm having the most efficient play session possible, then what it instead does is it rewards me with rooms that give me currency. So instead of really powerful abilities, it gives me currency to either heal myself so I can continue that run, or it'll give me currency that I can spend on those passive abilities that carry over after death. So it incentivizes, or at least it rewards my play, not by giving me more powerful things to steamroll, but to say, hey, you're going to die eventually, because everyone does in this type of play style, but you're going to have a lot to bring back. to make your passive abilities even stronger. So you are fighting a bit of RNG, and that's what makes the experience so interesting. It so far has never felt like a straight line with a bunch of exits that just take me back to the straight line. That's never really what it felt like. It kind of felt like yeah, it's like Dead Cells will put me on a narrative and I'll branch off, but ultimately it's going to put me back there. For whatever reason, Hades feels like if it branches off, it's just it's alternate timeline theory, right? The same event is happening, but now there are different circumstances around it that are just changing my experience. Even if I'm playing better, it changes the experience. So the fact that it's on the Switch is even more like, just pick up and play. I don't have to sit at my computer and be like, all right, I'm going to play this, because it's just going to get lost in the shuffle. It's an amazing platform for that game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like they're doing all the right things to keep you engaged in a format that can burn people out very easily.
It's also super giant. So like Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, like it's the art design in and of itself.
An isomorphic, incredibly well drawn game that sounds great and has great voice acting and story. That's what you're getting from that studio.
I mean, it's unreal.
Last question that I have specifically: are you as thirsty for anyone or multiple people in this game as the internet is as a whole? Because everyone is in love with
2018. This 2018 is when it came out.
Content, these characters.
That's
did
why I was
thirsty, like
thirsty.
Like they want to have sex with them.
Yeah. Yes, there are a lot of levels of thirsty. There's right there all the time, but
so there's
when I thirst, I lust.
One, the artwork is phenomenal. So people are thirsty about the quality to begin with. They're also thirsty because the characters are well voiced. They sound very attractive, like the whole 9 yards. But I also find it amazing that this game came out in 2018 and no one said a word until 2 years later when everyone decided to go crazy.
Yeah, it was an early. I actually bought it in early access when that came out, and I was like, okay, there's something here, and I put it down because it didn't have anything like really hook me. And this was the year like 1.0 came out, right? Like 2020. That was when that happened. Dude, so many articles, so many Game of the Year lists had this game on it. Like this was one of those games that just exploded over the course of the year.
And I think it's because people are pining for quality, not necessarily quality in the sense of there's always that split in the gaming community of quality to, oh my God, this looks amazing, to quality, oh my God, this feels amazing. Like this reminds me a lot of people that they're really core video game people. They love the difficulty of like side scrolling Mario, like that kind of era of gamer. And this really appeals to people that want that challenge but are looking for something that is just easily accessible. And that's what it was. Like there's no point where I felt intimidated by the game without it challenging me and going, oh man, I died, all right, let me really think about this and go back into it. So I can't recommend it enough. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a nice price too. I think it's like $25 right now. Yeah
Which is if you're talking about super giant quality, it's a steal. Like
100% worth it.
Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of Dead Cells. It's one of the games I actively play on a regular basis. Like taking my time with it. I think I've fought like a couple of bosses, but like it's not a priority. I just go back to it because it's just there. And you're saying it's pretty similar to that, but not exactly.
It's similar in that the function is the same.
Does it seed? It seeds like it though. It randomly generates the level.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not to the extent that I think Dead Cells does it, and I think that part of it is the perspective. It's not levels; it's arenas. So it's small, like fightable spaces. The idea is not for you to like traverse and figure out, like they put traps in the area, so you have to be conscientious of where you are, but the seeding is less about the level and more about the combination of bosses in a certain area. But they surround that seeding with sub bosses and then the boss. So if you've reached a certain boss, you kind of internally know, okay, I've gotten to a certain point in my play session. I'm farther than when I was before. So when I get to a boss, the confidence level skyrockets when you beat that boss for the first time, because you know, okay, this weapon works. But how the game tricks you is it says, hey, if you want more currency to go into your passive abilities, use this weapon instead. You'll get 20% more. So then the game goes, well, you can continue to use what you want to progress, but what do you value more in your progression? The currency that's going to stick, or the actual physical experience of trying to push yourself further? So the way that they position a lot of those things is really interesting in terms of choices. You'll run into levels where the two gods will show up, and one will be pissed off if you choose the other one. And so it creates an elemental like tension. I think it was Dionysus was the god of wine, and then I think Poseidon was one. They both showed up at the same time, and I chose Dionysus because he makes enemies like stagger. They're just drunk whenever you punch them. And Poseidon got pissed, and then all of a sudden everyone had water abilities in the next 3 levels. I was just like, bro, like what?
That's actually really cool. That's really cool how that worked out. Yeah.
You just gave me a power up like 5 floors ago. Like, what is happening right now? But
Gods are fickle.
Yeah, man, super fickle. But that's the cool part, is like uncovering how characters will act. You can also give them things like gifts, and they'll either power up their abilities, or they'll give you a charm that you can just have long term that'll do something like give you the ability to revive or whatever the case may be. So the game is very diverse and forgiving in what you can equip. It's just stingy in what you can equip in one specific play session. So I might have to equip this multiple times to get the most benefit out of it, because everything has its own leveling system. So it's astounding the amount of depth for. I mean, roguelites do that all the time. I remember when Nimbus and I played Gunfire Reborn on PC, which was just like Borderlands, but in a roguelike setting. And it always surprises me when a game that asks you to play the same thing over and over and over again, as intentionally as roguelites do, have a wide amount of depth to them, like just a large amount of depth to it. So it's really good for the Switch platform.
Yeah, I'm probably going to.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, you probably enjoy it, Felix.
I mean, I love the roguelike format because of Dead Cells. So every time I find a new one, I try and get it and try it out.
It's probably the most
acclaimed this game
I've played.
I can't just do like I can't just do like platform games that just go, you know, left to right and then end with the level and then move to the next level anymore. Like, I can't do that shit. I needed some kind of thing that's a part of the game to keep me engaged, you know.
Yeah, and every time you die, like I said, the dialogue has been different, so the story doesn't feel like it pauses because I haven't reached a certain boss. Even when I go back to a boss I've beaten already, they have something different to say. Wow. They'll react to my last play session.
That's the most exciting part to me, just feeling like the things that you do in the world have value, and you're creating this kind of feedback loop out of your experiences, and the world is kind of pushing back against the ways that you push it. Something that I've not felt in Cyberpunk.
We'll get to that.
Transition slightly to the next conversation topic, but yeah, it is really interesting the way you guys, you know, whatever you do, no matter what you do, boss or no boss, level or no level, you come back and it's a fresh experience. Like that's the very coolest part, the coolest mechanic of this game to me. The way it talks back to you. If
you get the chance to watch someone play it, you have to watch it for more than like 10 minutes, because watching it to see the gameplay is not enough. You have to see how characters react, how dialogue is spread out. So like I said, I'm plus 20 hours in, and I've not heard a character say the same thing twice.
It's wild, honestly wild.
And that's the astounding part. Is there some, I mean, The Order 1886 was an 8-hour campaign. If I play that again, it's the same campaign over again, right? You know,
wow, what a throwback, dude.
I know.
Boy, did I hate that fucking game.
That was a whole episode we did.
That was a whole episode of me trashing a game, man.
Hey, man, what can you do?
It's like 4 movies in a row. You know, that's what the experience of The Order is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but then the same 4 movies again.
Yeah. I was gonna say I have nothing myself besides playing more and more Stardew Valley. I'm loving update 1.5, farming, Loving it.
I said it before, I'll say it again. You have made Stardew Valley so interesting to watch.
Thank you, man.
Your perspective is not beating the game. Your perspective is existing in the world. And it's a very different thing when you're watching like content creators that like they're speed running and they're trying to beat the game or they're trying to be incredibly efficient or whatever the case may be. But yours is just the existence of the day. I don't think I've ever heard someone talk about what hour it is and what they can do in that short period of time and then not do that thing because something else has come up. I mean, hey, you know, I got like 2 hours left before I got to go to bed. I could pick up these rocks, but I'm going to go talk to this person. The next time I looked at you was the Easter egg hunt. And I was like, I don't know how he got to this point. This is a whole other day. He slept at one point or another. The rocks are still there. Now he's on an Easter egg hunt.
I appreciate you saying that. Don't get it twisted. I'm playing my playthrough right now in a very aggressively efficient way, as efficiently as I'm trying to, because my goal is to finish the community center's gift bundles, which restores this community center and gives the community itself, the valley, their excitement back, their pride in their town. Everyone goes and hangs out there again. It literally magically fixes the building. It's crazy. But in the new update, you can now remix the contents of these things you have to donate, and as well as guarantee that it can be done in year one while not knowing what's coming. So that's my challenge. And I'm stressed about it, dude. I'm very stressed. I'm behind. I thought I was in a better spot than I am. I just found out that I need to donate 10 salmon berries into one bundle, and salmon berries only exist in the spring for 3 days that grow wild. And I'm in the middle of the summer, so I'm going to need someone to bring this from the city on a traveling cart. I'm going to need a fruit bat to drop it in my cave, and I need 10 of them. I have one that I'm saving. So I'm stressed about the salmon berries. But beyond that, it's a great chill time in the valley.
Love it.
Anyone else?
Oh, in terms of like what we're playing?
I would love to talk about.
He should.
Yeah.
He definitely should.
Who me?
You.
Who me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I've been playing a few things. I've been playing Unravel 2. I'm not going to go into deep depth about it, but it's been a great game to play with a girlfriend. Really accessible game, and it's really cute. You play as little yarn characters. Love it. It's super fun.
That's the Switch?
Little Mario.
On the Switch?
It is on the Switch, but it's on every platform.
It's on a lot, yeah.
Another game I played was Mario Party, but we all know how those games go. You want to murder your friends.
It's best in the biz, yeah.
It's dangerous.
But in relation to what Diamond's been playing, like on the opposite fence, right? I've been playing Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Ooh.
Which is a game where, if Hades is a game that kind of encourages you to continue playing every time you fail and throws you back at the beginning, Sekiro is a game that slaps you in the face every time you fail and says, fuck you, try again, or get the fuck out of my game. It's insane how this game, you can't get better by leveling or taking passive abilities, right? Like there's none of that. The only thing you need to do is get better at reading your opponent and fighting them. And that's it. Plain and simple. Now, I've been on a Souls kick because I finished Bloodborne finally. Like that whole thing completed. Demon Souls on PS5, played all that. Really fantastic experiences. My buddy, who I've been playing these Souls games with, we tried to do Demon Souls 3. Dark Souls 3. And we were playing it on PC, and there's like the co-op mode you can do, and it was a miserable experience because so many people are still playing that game. The moment you enable co-op and you invite your friend into your world, that opens you up to PvP experiences, and people will just invade your game. And we were just unable to progress together, and it was just a miserable. We were just constantly stopping to fight people who were invading our game, essentially.
That's terrible.
So it was real bad. We like one night we were like playing for like 2.5 hours, and we only made it to like one bonfire. Like it was rough. Bonfires are checkpoints.
Awful.
Yeah,
that sounds awful.
It was really bad. But I just said, fuck it. Let me just play a straight up single player one of these games. And I chose Sekiro because Game of the Year 2019. And let me tell you, the game is really good. Like, the game is faster than a Souls game. It is harder than a Soul. It's harder than a Souls game because there is no way for you to overcome by collecting experience points. Like, you in Souls games, you hoard experience and then you spend it on things before you get killed again. In this game, no experience. You get money for killing enemies, but every time you die, that money is halved. And the more times you die, the game says, well, now we're going to put a debuff on you because you keep fucking up. Like even more of a handicap on you.
A death debuff. Whoa.
What in the?
Yeah, it's insane. Until you start getting better again and killing people. Like until you succeed.
And Destiny players are complaining about stasis? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will never play this game.
It's a permanent debuff to PvP.
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
Felix, you will never play this game.
I'm never playing that game. It sounds like
if you
straight up
other games making that.
Yeah, it sounds like straight up torture porn. It's horrible. I don't want to.
I hope you're telling the truth, Felix. I don't want to watch you play this game.
I'm not.
This would hurt me.
I've heard you say that before. I'm trying to make sure
this is real.
We're emphasizing
I'm never playing it.
He said this is real.
Good.
Never playing it. Ever.
Thank you.
You get stuck on mini bosses and you can constantly have to go back and fight them again. And if you come back weaker, so be it. There's no way to purchase upgrades. The game, though, however, does encourage stealth. There is a stealth aspect, unlike other Souls games, where you can sneak around and get to jump on people. And that actually does... It's probably the optimal way to play, is if you don't have to get into face-to-face combat with people, then you will probably be better off. But for the situations like when you're fighting a boss, like I'm not that far in. I must have played like 10 hours over the weekend, and I've gotten to a boss called like the Butterfly Lady. It's not really a spoiler, I don't think, at least. I probably died to this boss like 10 plus times, and every time it feels worse and worse. And your morale gets chopped in half, so you play worse, right? Like, it's the kind of thing where, like, you can do this. I've gotten to phase 2 of this fight already, but now I'm dying or I'm taking damage too early, and this game's punishing as hell, man.
Won't do it.
I felt that way
playing
fighting Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts, but I wasn't getting debuffed every time that I lost, so I can only emphasize up to that point. Emphasize. Christ. You get it.
Yeah, it works.
Caught the gist.
However, though, once you do beat once you do beat the Butterfly Lady, I will tell you, after the 11th or 12th or whatever time I fought her, it feels damn good to finally put your controller down and go, I fucking killed you, and I did it, and you didn't get me this time. Yeah. And it's a great feeling. But until that feeling happens, I don't get mad at games. Generally I don't rage, I don't throw controllers. Sure. This game had me like
just gripping,
standing out of my chair and like walking around and just being like, what the fuck, dude? What, you get these knives? How do you have ghosts now? You have ghosts now? Can you kidding
set
me?
up a camera and record yourself? I really want to see this.
Oh, you mean like stream on Twitch? Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
That wasn't what that thing is.
Yeah.
We could maybe put a camera on you and then have the game next to, I don't know how, next to you maybe, I don't know.
That's amazing that you bring that up, because like I have no experience with these types of games because I've avoided them. But like Hades is, I get that satisfaction, and then the smallest enemy kills me 7 rooms from then, and then I have to do all of that shit over again. All of it. From the beginning, first level, I got to fight all these pansy enemies at the beginning that are like absolutely dominated.
But I'm not.
You're like given new tools and things.
Well, so that's the crazy part. Like that blows my mind that Sekiro is just like, tough shit. Like you lost,
get better
try it again.
Carrying and dodging,
we're not going to give you anything. Yeah. That's
the way its system works is instead of everybody having like pretty much health bars, they have like stagger meters that you build up. So like you're beating on their parry, like you're beating on their guard, like until you break their guard. Same thing for you. You have your own stagger meter that they can break. And let me tell you, yours is way easier to break than theirs. I'll be straight up with you right now, naturally. And then there are certain amounts of times you can get a death blow on them, like a killing stroke. So some bosses will have like 2 killing strokes you need to break as you're breaking their stagger meter. And it's, man, okay. But I will be fair. Once you beat one of these tough bosses, like one of these like really like these are like tricky parts, they give you an item that lets you actually increase attack power slightly. But attack power just means you'll break their guard faster. You're not doing more damage to them necessarily. So, and you can increase your own health by getting certain items, and you can acquire more flasks like the Souls games have. Yeah. Those flasks that you can like pop. You'll get more of those as you kind of progress through the game. But nothing like you're not getting new swords. You're not getting like you're not raising your strength stat. You're not doing any of those normal.
I feel like I'm in the middle school version of whatever Neo's playing right now, which is like college.
Yeah,
it's like I haven't graduated to whatever the next level of whatever that is. That's
but
insane,
I feel like
dude.
This is definitely a game that I will try and finish because this is like one of those pinnacles of like the Souls genre, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
and it's. I mean, people love this game. This was like Game of the Year 2019, and I am now like loving the Souls games that I've been playing because I went back, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, like those games got me. They got me back in, and I really loved what they had to offer. And I want to see where this game goes. Maybe Felix on Friday. Maybe I will stream it. Maybe
stream it.
Pop it on.
I streamed Uncharted 4 on Crushing and broke down into a sniveling pile of garbage, whatever the fuck I was by the end of that.
I was told popcorn while you were playing that.
Took me
that
5 fucking days to beat the shipyard on Crushing.
I remember. Oh man, I remember watching you play that.
So like, if I can do that on stream and look like that, you're probably gonna look way better. You're probably it'll be funnier.
I mean, I hope you're prepared to watch me slam my head against the same few areas again and again, because that's essentially what you do. Like, it's essentially what you do until you decide, okay, well, maybe I should try another area and see if I can find something else that will like help me.
That was my biggest frustration
in my brain.
My biggest frustration is not being able to put on a good show as a streamer when I keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Now, ultimately the rage monster is funny to people, but then that's all you are. Yes. You're just a guy who's just a clown that people laugh at. And I hated that. That would make me enrage even more, knowing that people were laughing at me, not with me or near me. They were laughing at me. So that used to fucking enrage me even more. So I won't do that kind of shit. I had another point I was going to say, and I can't remember. I lost it.
All right. But anyway, I've been playing Sekiro, and I think I'm going to try and stick with it. I am switching between that and Cyberpunk. Played a little bit more Cyberpunk yesterday. I'm not making progress in that game. I'll be real with you guys. That game is, I am just repeating, but with what feels like the same things while waiting for other main story quests to happen. Like, I honestly, with Cyberpunk, I might honestly just mainline this story at this point, just to finish the game, instead of hitting all the exclamation points on the map. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm hitting that because I'm remembering. I'm not saying anything with this game again.
100%. And like, I'm still at like mission 3 for Pan Am. Like, Judy's might be wrapping up at this point. You're like, Trip, you're 100% right. Like, it is essentially like what am I going to just raid another like bar mission and kill a guy, and then the guy will call me.
Once I had the unfortunate revelation.
Do you officially want to get into this now?
I mean, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and then we can decide where we want to go, because we could roll right in. When I had the unfortunate revelation that every facility, building, hideout, whatever the fuck, was just the worst version of a Fallout bunker, of a cave in Skyrim, with far less interesting reasons to be there than either of those two games. I have never felt that bad. Like when I learned how a magic trick was done for something I really liked, like it was like the same kind of feeling, but just really, really disappointing. Probably because I wanted so much out of the game, and we've already been over like the expectation conversation, and it's probably going to play into some of this too. But it hurt, and I was like, there isn't anything else here, because even the best part of the game, in my perspective, were some of the story missions, and as the game went on, that fell apart too. It became unmotivated, became too linear, became, I don't know, but the story missions and how they interconnected in the beginning were it. And by the end, I was like, I just want to be done with this.
It feels like most of the work, like the hard work that they put into it, were the main story conversations and quests, and even that doesn't feel like the same quality as like the Witcher's experience, like The Witcher 3. And I'm using that because that's their other product that they put out. And it feels like this game, expectations included, or Cyberpunk with their expectations, said that this would have been like, with Mass Effect, you feel like your character is shaped to the decisions that you make in conversation, right? And by the end of the game, your character is very different than someone else's character because they've gone Paragon or they've gone evil, renegade.
Yeah.
This one, there's really none of that. Like even Fallout games have repercussions, right? Like in Fallout New Vegas, you side with Caesars, then these other guys don't. Caesars is Fallout 4?
Fallout 4 is the closest to Cyberpunk as you describe it. Fallout
4 has one flag in the road where you go, am I siding with the Institute? Am I siding with the Brotherhood? Am I siding like
right, that's kind of the only one though. The whole game makes you be a good guy. You just have to be a good guy.
Sure, yeah, but like even though Fallout 4 is not like the most perfect game in the world, people, there's criticisms of it, but they still had a way of dynamically changing how the world feels after you make a certain decision, which is kind of hard to do, right? Like that is a hard thing to do. We got to give them Fallout 4 credit for that. You side with your, the Institute, then these factions don't like you, and it changes your experience when you're back out on the world and in the playing field. I don't see, or maybe Trip or anyone who's further than me in this game can tell me, does anything change the way Night City feels for V, specifically V, and the way you're experiencing? Because so far you just walk into an area, they talk to you, they know who you are, and then you just continue on with the conversation. Like maybe Johnny Silver.
There's one decision you could. There's one decision that you can make in the game that seems to change the game, and it's when you kill Fingers. If you kill Fingers, you no longer have him as a vendor forever. He can't be a vendor in the game. That's the one permanent change you can make. I killed Fingers, and then I could never get the cool jumpy legs. Because Fingers
so they don't respawn NPCs back in the world?
No, Fingers specifically. No, nowhere in the world. No, that's not true. The those assault points that are like the little bat on those respawn. You can go back to those. Actually, that's how people farm materials. They just in a loop. They just kill dudes, run away, literally run right back, kill them all again, run back. Kill them all again.
See, like that's a.
I'm not playing the game that way. I'm not playing the game that way. I'm saying people do.
Okay. All right. So I wrote an article earlier.
Fingers, man.
That I posted today.
I have it open. I have not read it yet. I'm so sorry.
Because it's fine. Since Cyberpunk came out, I've been unable to figure out why it wasn't sitting right with me. I knew that I played it, and I knew that I liked parts of it, but my experience was not equal to like the fervent frustration of the internet. I couldn't figure out why. So I'm playing, and then I write in the article that my save file gets corrupted, the 8 megabyte save file issue.
Oh, that happened to you.
Yeah, so I had to delete my save file and start over again, which I was kind of okay with.
How far were I guess if you're okay, you weren't that deep in.
I was about 10 hours in, but I had chosen the corpo narrative, and I just there was no emotion behind it, so I really didn't care for it. So when I deleted it, I did the Nomad instead, and I felt so much better about like that backstory in particular. So eventually, I'm listening to Trip. It might have been you were talking about it, and you had mentioned something about, I can't remember when this was, but you had mentioned something about playing the experience and trying to equal what I was told to what I was playing. Like, if I just listened to what the devs and the fans and the actors and Keanu Reeves on stage told me about Cyberpunk, you would think I was playing the next evolution of video games, whatever that is. I don't know what it looks like.
The impression was going to be like the watershed moment, the paradigm shift, where we can point to a game and go, this is when it changed. The experience leveled up. This is when we got Westworld, the video game, which is, I think people didn't maybe say that, but that's what we're experiencing. This is what the closest we're going to get to this like total life experience immersion. Yeah. So if people want to read the article, please do. I would love it if you did. But the general consensus is that I realized that Cyberpunk is a video game trying to tell me that it's a video game. Like it's not a video game. And the one example that I couldn't get out of my head is at the beginning, when you get the optics put into your eye right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And Vic says to you, hey, when you put these optics in, you're going to get a new sight. Oh, and you'll be able to see a counter for your ammo. And he puts the sight in, and nothing changed in my HUD. Nothing. I could see my ammo beforehand. I had a sight beforehand while I was fighting through the apartment scene. So what are you talking about? What am I getting that is a benefit now to what it was then? And I couldn't get that experience out of my head until I realized that the dialogue-driven story narrative is trying to mask the elements of the video game as the cyberpunk aspects of it. But the reality is, I'm still playing a video game. That doesn't, just because you tell me that I put an optic in here and now I have a HUD, that's not immersion. That's just fact. I think you're dead right, where they could have had you play that first mission without any like kind of like heads up display, without a pointer.
It's just small things.
You get it, and then it actually changes your experience. And now if I can kind of piggyback off of that exact moment, because that exact moment is part of that original demo. You played through that experience almost moment for moment. And what drew me in, like I watched this thing at least once a week after it dropped, just obsessed with it, because the world did truly look incredibly detailed. And I would, like, based on what I had seen, my mind was extrapolating out, oh my God, what else is there going to be? And the thing that I really latched onto was the moment where the other upgrade to your body you get, the other augment besides the eyeball, is you get a skin graft on your palm that connects to your gun. And I saw them install this with this piece of like street medical tech that someone had designed, created, thought about for humans 70 years in the future, and then implemented how it worked, where someone would put their hand into this machine, into this ring of concentric circles, and every concentric circle would move independent of itself, little needles going crazy on the hand and doing this like little robot operation on this part of your body. I hyperfixated on that, going, oh my God, that's such a cool idea about the future, about getting closer to the human cyborg conversion, which will probably happen at some point in the future. Just that alone was a catalyst of so much imagination for me. And I'm like, if this just happens in a regular cutscene, how much more of this are we going to get? Like, how much world building, how much creativity do they have about what the future is going to be like? What's their imagination? And while we did get those scenes in the game, so if you didn't watch the E3 playthrough, you got to experience it. It was very cool. I don't remember ever seeing another moment in the game that was as like future human highlighting that showed off someone's imagination of the future, that showed a way to bring you into the world that was really immersive, that caught me in that way. Like that whole beginning was so well crafted, and it fell off after that, and the game didn't have enough to hold it up.
The closest is probably the BD, when you go into a BD for the first time. That's probably the closest second of like, now I can experience murder. Not that I would want to, but just it's
right.
Like,
well, I bought some kind of sex BD in one of those like sex shops on Jig Street, and I couldn't go into the sex BD, so I was like, "Fuck this."
So you just said, "All right."
Well, no, because I made this point on the show before, and I wanted to tell you, Diamondjab, that like, I'm just gonna say it again because I know you guys have heard it, and people who listen to the last two shows probably heard it. Everyone is expecting this immersive experience, and they're getting a game. And that kind of sucks. And it really does suck. And I can't blame anyone for it. But I'm fine with the game. I'm just fine with the game. It's a game.
So here's my counter, because this is the rest of my article.
I'm not saying it's a fun game. I'm just saying it's a game.
CD Projekt Red was working, crunching, whatever term you want to use, depending on who you are, on this game over here, saying that it's gonna change everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what they didn't know is that over here were 4 developers. We're Nintendo, we're Sucker Punch, Insomniac, and I think the other example I picked was Sony Santa Monica, but you could throw like Kojima, Square Enix, whatever you want to call it. Because all of a sudden, right on the back half of the PlayStation 4, were all of these developers that were creating open world games that understood the way that we innovate an open world game is by creating something other than a point A to point B character driven experience. And what I mean by that is I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima's the fact that it's taken me this long to even get halfway through it is unreal. But Ghost of Tsushima, you play as Jin Sakai. Jin Sakai is not the main character of that game. He's the character you play as, but the island is the main character of that game. And the way it does that is through passive storytelling and through intentional design. The wind that blows, the color palette, the environment, the sound design, everything about the game is meant to inform the player about what they're doing and where they are. So all of a sudden, I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima as I'm playing Cyberpunk, and I'm sitting here going, which is really innovating here? Then I reflected back to, all right, so if it's intentional point A, point B, I played 2 experiences that took intentional point A, point B and threw it in my face. And that was God of War and Death Stranding. But why don't I feel the same way about those games when that's the whole concept, is just Kratos going from point A to point B? Or in Death Stranding, it's just Sam Porter Bridges going from point A to point B. Literally delivering
lots
stuff from
of point A's to point.
Literally,
you literally draw a line.
The whole
and
game
follow
is
your
just
line.
take this and bring it to point B. That's the whole game.
It feels great.
But why don't I feel the same? And it's because
it really does.
The design around those games is not. It's about masking the point A to point B around a very intentional part of an emotional experience. Death Stranding is meant to feel oppressively lonely. That's what it's meant to feel like. Instead, what Cyberpunk does is it takes all of this static noise. It takes the ambiance of the city. It takes the environment. It takes the cybernetics, and it throws it all in your face. But none of it masks anything, because in the way that they defined a cyberpunk era is the same way a video game developer would develop a video game. It's the same way. Cyberpunk can do that. If that's the way they want to design their game, that's fine. But the consequence of that is 4 other developers have actually taken the open world genre and advanced it to a point that, at least in my opinion, that is where open world thrives. This is where open world is. Cyberpunk just is. not great. It's not terrible. It's the video game, and that just kind of is what it is.
I feel like you missed one of those, Diamond. Not that it's a huge addition, because you had incredible examples. But if we're talking about like a really direct parallel to like a Cyberpunk experience, and a game that no one really heralded as the next wave of open world, though it probably has the crown if we were to look objectively, Red Dead Redemption 2. Look at all of the things you could do in that game, just immersion wise, but also look at the emotional investment of the story and look at the life that world had.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a video game until they tell you, spoilers, that your character is dying. The moment they tell you your character is dying, the way you play your character changes. The actions you take. If I rewind back to Ghost of Tsushima, one of the things I realized is every time I would walk into a house that wasn't mine, or I done a fight, you could swipe down on the touchpad and your character would bow. Or every time there was a character like crawling away from battle, like they're just dying at this point and they're just crawling away, I wouldn't kill them. Not because I didn't want the XP or because I wanted to finish the fight, but because I wanted the fear around the concept of the ghost to be real. So I'm going to let this dude crawl away. He's not going to go anywhere because it's not the mechanic that's there, but it built into my narrative of going, I'm going to let this dude survive. The moment they tell you that your character in Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan, is dying, is the moment your perspective changes. Even if you're playing the game as a rogue, you're just murdering people left and right, you could still play it the same way, but you don't have the same perspective that you had before. For 25 hours of Cyberpunk, my perspective never changed. I might have learned information, but I was always in the same place, and any character that moved me emotionally was gone by that point. Spoilers if you haven't played Cyber, but yeah.
To build off what both you and Trip said, was with Ghost of Tsushima, the world being the main character is 100% true, because every moment of that game is inviting you to continue and inviting you to explore and see what is out there, right? And the same way, Night City should probably try and do the same thing, because they put a lot of emphasis on the world, right? A lot of emphasis is on Night City and exploring all of those little nooks and crannies. But every street you walk down, it's the same random dialogue from characters, the same weird looking children walking down the street, you know.
Like, I don't want to stop you, but I do want to interject. We were told Cyberpunk's soul is in Night City, but I've never felt that its soul was in Night City. It's the most interesting, objectively, I think. It's the most creative.
There's tons of people walking around.
Yeah, a place to go, but I don't feel Night City.
But I don't think part of that is Night City's fault. Part of it is the design. Why am I being introduced to the same mob boss in the same way just because I drive through that area? I get an introductory phone call. Hey, what's up? I'm such and such. I got a car to sell. Come on over and maybe we'll chat. I'm like, okay, cool. Awesome. That was cool for that one character. And then all of a sudden I was doing the Delamain missions and I was trying to pick up all the cars. And I realized every time I would drive into an area, that mob boss would call me.
Get a phone
call. So now all
of
a sudden I'm completing a mission and I'm just seeing the same design repeated over and over and over and over and over again. Hey, what's up, man? Come on over. We can talk. I got a car to sell. Hey, what's up, man? Come on over. We can talk. I got a car to sell. And I'm just like,
oh yeah,
this is the only way I'm introduced to characters that aren't like major dialogue characters. Oh my God, man.
Definitely, Neo. Continue what you were saying about the city.
To build off what you were saying, Trip, about how the first initial missions feel so well crafted and inviting into the world and showing you what the possibility of this game can be, right? With the way they implant your eye and the grafting of all the stuff, like those there's a large dip after those first missions in quality. I would say in quality, just straight up, where you're either just in static dialogue with other characters and doing pretty samey missions. You're not doing anything that seems thought-provoking. You're doing the same thing in the main missions from where I am right now, I don't know if it changes right now because I'm still I'm probably like 40% into the game still right now, but nothing changes drastically between what I'm doing when I walk near an exclamation point on the map and it says, hey, the guy calls you and goes, hey, there's a crazy person in this area. You might want to just go fight this guy. Or, hey, can you go in here and grab the thing inside the building and sneak either, like, what I'm talking about, those missions that they give you.
They're called gigs.
Yeah, the gigs.
They're called gigs.
They're just baggage dumps, bros. I don't feel like doing this. I need someone to do it, so I'm going to hire the mercenary to do it. If they would have leaned into like the mercenary thing, if they would have leaned into that though, they didn't lean into the concept of the mercenary. Once the prologue is finished, what is my character still doing?
The game is just about Johnny Silverhand at that point. Like essentially that character becomes the main character. If you want to talk about main characters being things, he becomes the main focus. Your priorities shift, and just like in Red Dead, spoilers for Cyberpunk, your character is dying in the game and you're told you're dying, but I don't know if I feel the same way about V or Arthur Morgan in this scenario, because they're showing me Johnny Silverhand, and Johnny Silverhand is the new focal point of the game, not really necessarily V. Trip.
Oh, I had a side thought when you mentioned like the gigs and things, and it's another thing that just takes away from my immersion and fun playing in this world. I found a lot of gig missions, not just randomly, but sometimes I wouldn't get the call for the gig mission. And if you don't get the call, but you've cleared out an area and you go to like get the chest, or you go to find where they're keeping like wherever the good shit is, you can't open that chest. So I had a whole moment where I cleared out an entire like cul-de-sac of like gang members, couldn't get anything, and I was like, murder. This is okay, waste of time. I left. Then I got a call. I went back. No one was there, and then the chest was open.
Even better.
Did you airdrop me like a code for this? Like what happened? What was the difference with this moment here? Why was I not allowed to open up a box?
Can you get in there and kill some dudes? Can you get in there and kill some dudes?
It's because it's all
that's the thing, framework. Though. It's like Cyberpunk. What I ended up realizing is that's, first of all, for those of us that have done like gaming podcasts and we stream, like, games aren't just games. They're not just games. They serve a bigger purpose in our lives in particular. And what I realized was Cyberpunk is a video game, to Felix's point. But every game that has a higher rating than Cyberpunk right now is more than that. Every open world game that has a higher rating than Cyberpunk brought something else to the table that didn't identify it solely as an open world game. It threw something else on the table to say, this is where the value lies. Yeah. Cyberpunk is a video game. Cyberpunk is very much a video game, and that's fine. But what I realized is the fault is not with Cyberpunk. The fault is if you're going to tell me that your game is era defining. I've already played an era defining game, and it doesn't feel the same way this feels. So something's not right. You don't have to apologize. You just need to acknowledge that the product you put out there is not even remotely close to the best product that's out there right now. So if the dialogue is not matching, and this went into the question that Tripped asked, like, do I get to be frustrated because this is creatively what they wanted to put out? I don't know. I don't know if I get to be frustrated. I'm the one who paid $60. It is what it is.
Would you blame the marketing material for that, Diamond? Like, would you? Because they had like Night City wires, like like monthly, like showcases of like the things you'll experience in Night City.
The focus on the Night City wires as a concept were, let me give you small glimpse of immersion into this world as just a tiny taste of the things you're going to be able to do in this video game. That was the selling point of the concept.
The reality of the concept being
they showed you everything in the game.
Wild to me.
It's like when you Trip. It's like when you go and watch a movie trailer in the theater, and you're like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And then the movie trailer is all the best shots and best scenes and best
Right.
quotes
The
in the
entire
entire
plot
movie.
is there
And
in
then
the
you
trailer.
play the movie, you go to the movie, and you're like, wait, there's nothing extra.
You get the
fuck?
B and C plots when you see the whole movie, but you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I flipped on this twice in terms of my opinion. My first opinion was Watch Dogs. Remember what Watch Dogs looked like, or The Division when it first came out? Right, we've talked about this a lot. Like it's when they showed it at E3.
The pre-release stuff.
Pre-release.
Those are two of the
Don't
other
look
most
remotely
notorious
Yeah,
demos that were wildly
Ubisoft,
different.
by the way.
Yes.
But
Yes.
my first thought was E3 is not a platform for me. E3 is a platform for investors. So when you say this is our vision for what we want to create, the goal is when it's finally done, we want to get it as close as we possibly can to that. But it's probably not going to be that if we don't get a lot of
That's
backing
totally
or
not how
support.
they present their product, though.
This is the flip. This is my flip opinion now, is that regardless of how they showcase it, the platform has evolved. E3 is no longer just for investors anymore. It's publicized, it's streamed, everyone can watch it. So now when what you're showing to investors is not just for them for the dream of your product, you're showing it to Joe Schmo who's got $60 to burn on his on his last paycheck, and he wants to experience this. So the question becomes, what do you show at that point?
I mean, as these mediums grow and develop and change, we are the investors because of pre-ordering, because of crowdsourcing. I think like an investor.
Well, we're investors who don't research, but we're investors.
That's why Disney just weirdly.
100%.
That's why
I think that's going to. Hold on, I think that's going to go away, or at least that margin is going to get a lot smaller in the future. Like I know everyone likes to poke fun at God damn it, Robert Space Industries and
Star Citizen.
Thank you, Star Citizen. The name was just escaping me. And this like weird 10-year project that exists but doesn't right now, but has raised $350 million from the players of the game who still one day hope to play a cohesive experience. I think that's going to be more of the norm than being like, okay, this studio is backing this, so they have this pile of cash to work with.
Can I throw Ubisoft back? Oh, go ahead.
That was like the early access promise for a lot of these games. But
early
the problem
access,
with that
pre-ordering, it's all under the same umbrella.
But even in some cases, early access games are even worse. And Hades is definitely one of the exceptions in this, in what I'm about to say.
Rare.
But for a lot of early access games, they never come to fruition. What they promise to those early access investors, the customers, us, never really comes out the way we want it. And DayZ is definitely a prime example of that. But there are tons of games that end up falling through or just don't fulfill what they want because of like Star Citizen may eventually 10 years from now be a great experience, but who's to say at this point? Because we're giving into the promise of something, just like these E3 trailers, just like all of these other pre-marketing materials, and we let that define our view of what we're going to experience, right? And that's kind of the idea of them, right? Like they're supposed to set an expectation,
I was gonna say,
definition for what we're getting. Like, yeah, we were lied to. Like, and it is not wrong of us to say that we were lied to about a lot of these games like Watch Dogs 1, and even all these other games that like came out and weren't what we saw in the pre-release stuff. It's not a good feeling, and we continue to reward these companies for doing it. Like we continue to fall back and fall in line with them with our wallets ultimately.
Well, so here's the interesting part about support in that way is that I think more than ever before, the publisher and the developer are two separate entities. They're not blended together as much as they used to be. So my perspective on that is I think the game that's doing it right God, I hope it comes out, is Beyond Good and Evil 2. Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in development for a long time. What have we seen on stage? We saw 2 CG trailers.
Yeah, I was gonna say cinematic.
Two cinematic trailers to build hype. Now, gameplay has leaked, but it leaked from a closed doors play session for investors. I think if that's how you're going to present it, don't show me what I hope a game is, because right now the percentages are so low, it's not going to be that. So you can build hype if you want to do Night City Wires, that's fine. But if what you currently have is not what you currently have, or you're fabricating it with CG or frame by frame editing or whatever the case may be, that's not right. It just isn't. It's just not right.
We're leaving out, I think, something that's important to the story of Cyberpunk specifically in terms of expectation setting, which I think is an overarching theme with all of this, right? It's how are we looking at expectation? How are we given expectation? And how do we interpret that? If there is even a way to interpret it, because a lot of times they want us to think that it's interpretable, but it's not delivered in a way that is interpretable. And that brings me to my point that we were told in April, when the original release date was coming up for Cyberpunk, that the game is fully done. It's so done, you guys. You don't understand how done it is. But we're just going to make sure that it's like the most incredible game you can play. So we need a little bit more time, and we're going to delay it. It's fully playable. It's in such a good state. These were things that they said when they were delaying this game. And then that delay happened, and then another delay happened, and then another delay happened. And every time we're like, oh, this is just getting more and more better. So of course I'm fine with this. Of course. You've already told me that the game is fully done, and this is just icing on the cake. This is polish. Please polish. And what we got was
the opposite of polish.
Actually a beta, and there was no polish anywhere.
And it's
we've
funny
been
because
told for a whole year that there was nothing but polish left. That was pretty explicit with how they've delivered that message. And I don't know if you can argue that. Their legal
Jason's article,
but there's no way you could really argue it.
In Jason Schreier's article, the investors really wanted to release the game in that early timeline, that April timeframe, because they wanted to be able to release the PS4 and Xbox One version of the game, and they wanted to pull the GTA 5 essentially. They wanted to pull could we release on the early console, next gen console comes out, we can release it a second time and get the next
the double dip.
Version.
Yeah.
They wanted the double dip, and that ended up not happening because the game, spoiler alert, was not done in April, and we know that by now. We know that now with the experience that we're all
current gen version was
little super tangential, super quick. But I think that plan would have fallen through no matter what, because of the trend that started soon after of companies saying, "Oh yeah, if you buy it now, we're gonna give you next gen's version for free." They all would have fallen in line once that.
Cyberpunk was one of the people who said that. They were one of the companies that did that.
Not the first. They were not the first. And I think
they weren't the first.
They were in a development position where they could pivot away from the investor wish of like fully separately double dipping. Yeah, it was an easy decision for them to make. But I think if things played out and they were ready to release and try the double dip, they would have had to kind of reverse that plan and follow the trend of just giving people the next gen update.
I'm in the small boat of if CDPR and whoever the head of it is or the development team came out and said, what you're playing, not visually, not performance, what the core concept of the game, your missions, your structure, your traversal, your combat, everything was our vision. This is what we wanted. Then I can do about it as a player. That's what you wanted to give me. I can render my opinion on it, but this is your project. But if you want to come out and say, we'll fix it, trust me, the version that like this was not what we intended to put out there. We're going to do fixes and this and that and the other thing. I don't buy it. Mind you, I'm also the same person who no longer buys it from games that I supported for a long time. So I'm burner number one here. between Avengers and Anthem and all these other games that I've decided to put time and money and effort into.
God,
as
that
much
is
as I
something
still,
I wanted to ask you about.
as much
I
as
wanted to
I,
ask you about Avengers Diamond.
bro, still in it. Kate Bishop, the whole 9 yards, living my best life. With that being said,
Question answered.
Avengers, Square Enix hasn't said a word about good, bad, indifferent. They're doing weekly blogs like it's no big deal. There's nothing wrong with the game. They're owning the out of being completely tone deaf. Hey,
they're owning the tone deaf.
They're owning the tone deafness. People are like, yo, my files are being deleted. They're like, yo, check out this Kate Bishop footage. It's phenomenal. Like, take a look at all the photos people are putting it up there. Like, you would think there's nothing wrong with the game.
Certainly an angle.
And hey, I'm okay with that. If that's how you want to own it, by all means, I'm there until the game goes under. Fine. But that doesn't mean I have to buy it. That doesn't mean I have to buy that nothing's wrong. Something's wrong.
So then
you don't have to say.
How do you feel about the apology video from last week?
I don't need it. I don't need an apology video. I don't need the head of CD Projekt Red to come out and apologize to me for a game that I know what it is. But I also am a 32-year-old gamer who spent money on a game that isn't very good. And I've done that a handful of times in the last 2 years. I don't need every developer to come out and be like, oh my, like, hey, this is not what we want. Like, we apologize for anyone who we deceived. All right, whatever. Like, just do
you guys remember in early quarantine when the first couple ads were like, we know it's really fucking tough right now, and we were all like, wow, it is fucking tough. Thanks, Hyundai, for saying that. And then like a week later, and it was like, times are tough. You should get yourself an air fryer. And you're like, fuck you, bro. Stop that. I'm tired of your angle. I think we're all at the I'm tired of your angle.
I'm tired of your shit. Are you calling me out? I totally bought an air fryer like 2 months into quarantine.
Well, they sold you one, dude.
I mean, I did as well.
Everyone did.
Air fryer.
I bought one.
Phenomenal choice. But if that air fryer company said to me that they were making the most innovative next generation air fryer and it did the same shit another air fryer did.
No, not most. It's not most innovative air fryer. It's most innovative cooking device. That's what they said. They said this is going to cook food better than anything.
We'll get Johnny.
And what's really funny is
what's
really funny is there's so many memes now of people who are like, air fryers are just not, they're not what they marketed it as at all.
No, excuse you, they're amazing.
Excuse you.
It circulates hot air around a box, which is
what it does.
Which is good.
I get some of the most baller crispy chicken out of an air fryer. So like,
oh hell yeah, my wing's on point now. Just saying.
The cauliflower bites, fire.
Ooh,
okay, I'm just putting it out there. Hey, I'm just saying, if CD Projekt Red tried to tell me that this air fryer was gonna, make me lose 50 pounds, that wasn't gonna happen, and I knew it wasn't gonna happen.
The air fryer is like how a game renders what's right in front of you, right? It shows you something, but something else is going on. That's the best analogy right there. I mean, nothing's frying, but it does pretty good work.
It does pretty good work, It is. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. It is the Star Wars at EA of cooking devices.
Oh God.
So
let me tell you one thing that I'm upset. Hold on. I didn't say anything. Let me tell you one thing. Okay, I got the back scratcher.
The back scratcher.
No, the one thing I'll say, because I get all your perspectives. They marketed a certain way, and that fucking was a lie. I know that. I didn't walk into it with any expectations. And when I got into the game, I'm also somebody that really creates a game with himself. Like, you give him, like, 3 weird blocks in the corner of his fucking preschool, and then he's suddenly doing something with them. And people are like, why? What is he doing with those blocks? We don't know. He created some kind of weird game with it. Right, so I do that.
The game is for sure a playground. It's definitely a playground.
So I did that.
There's no denying.
But let me tell you, I hit a wall on that. So I have now completed. I'm 50-50. 50 street cred, 50 level 50. I've completed every street crime in the game. I've completed every side gig. I only have story missions to do. Right, and I ran out of money. Like, I have no way to make an income.
Out of money?
You only make income, for the most part, off of the gigs and the side things. The game lacks any radiant quests that continue your ability to earn.
The economy is pretty shot once your map is clear.
Right. So once the map is clear, you make no money. And that's the reason why people are walking to vending machines and faking this painting thing to make money. they're pulling the old Edward Furlong in Terminator 2. That's what they're doing. They're coming up with the little credit card machine, and they're
and y'all try to get pissed off at Marvel's armor system. A fucking RPG ran out of money.
It ran out. Right.
What do you want from me?
Now in the game's defense, they didn't know I was gonna put all of my money into upgrading guns. That's all I put money into. Every single time I wanted to upgrade guns, I would, basically, I would buy the materials.
Defense of your weird defense of the game's experience, delivering that experience to
I don't know if it's a defense.
They should expect
everything.
Any situational use of funds to the absolute nth degree.
Right.
In a video game.
Wait, it's an RPG. What RPG doesn't have a system for repeated
money? You know this. You can't just print money.
Jesus.
Well, you can now, because there's a single painting that you get, and here's the scam. You get 4,000 to put it into the machine. You walk away from the machine, walk back. It's $5 to get it back. You buy it back for $5, put it back in the machine for another $4 until the machine's empty.
Oh, dude, send me this. Send me the details on this after the stream. I'm gonna do this right now.
That's how you make money. Now you have to play the quest that gives you this painting. Man. You have to do that, but once you play that, it's a side quest. It's a gig. You play the quest, you get the painting, and then you can just use this as a money laundering device. And so now when I go into the game, because I have no way to make money because there's nothing on the map, I literally get up. Remember, I'm still role-playing this where
This is the most unbelievable I've ever heard.
I still make the character go to sleep and wake up in the morning, but she goes through a routine where she does a route where she goes to all these vending machines and steals money, launders money from the vending machines. This is my RP experience. And then once she has enough funds to go about her day,
you're a real street kid.
Yeah. No, she's not a street kid. She's a corpo.
Remember when I said I didn't need an apology? Yeah, fuck all that noise. I needed that apology now. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know running out of money was a thing.
That's what I'm saying. You don't experience it until you get to the end game and you've completed everything on the map. You literally have nothing to do.
You cannot buy every car by just playing the game's missions. It's impossible.
And get this. Is
there a new game plus?
Get this. I just calculated. I have it written down. What? Look, it's written on a piece of paper right here. It's written on my PlayStation 5 user guide. I wrote it on here. You
didn't have Felix.
That's all that was in front of me.
iPhone with a notepad app. What are you doing
I did it in pencil so I could erase it. I could erase it later.
You can backspace on an iPad.
It's look at this. I was too lazy to open my phone.
Yeah, show me your handwriting on this book. Show me what you wrote on a book, Felix.
Looks like a third grader. Right. This is how much money. This is how much money I need to launder.
Shameless plug to if you don't know, we broadcast live on Twitch, even though it's an audio product. Twitch.tv/emergent_gamer. You can see Felix holding this up to the camera live on the internet.
So this is how much money I need to launder.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. This is to buy all the cars because I haven't bought any cars. I've only earned the cars they give you in story missions or side quests. So I want to buy all the cars, and there's no way to make money in the game. 1.674 million. 1,674,000 euros, eddies, whatever the fuck they're called.
$0.
I have to get through this laundering scheme where you go to these vending machines. Each vending machine, some have as much as 30 grand in them. And remember, you could also do this with vendors as well. So I can take this painting, give it to a vendor, buy it back for $5, give it again. The most I've seen in a vending machine is $30,000. So I have to do this for hours until I can get $1.674 million to buy every car in the game.
It sounds like the Stardew math I'm doing when I have to figure out how many
literally
I'm going to plant to be able to afford my barn upgrade in a couple of weeks.
But to reinforce Diamond's point, literally the poor design of the game has forced people to come up with a cheat or find a cheat to make more money.
Well, that's always going to happen.
But I mean, that's poor design if your community is forced into doing this.
The very basic like reward of cash in a game to buy like dumb shit cosmetics should never run out.
Right.
That's the bare minimum.
But that's not like,
because even in
Skyrim, like, here's an extra currency to buy cosmetics. This is the only currency in the game. There's no pay real money currency.
Yeah, so,
this isn't like a Battlefront XP crate problem. This is right. You got to a certain zero on the number of cash in the game, and people were like, "That's enough."
And there should be some way to either you're challenged where this resource is scarce, or it makes you work really, really hard, and then that gradually increases as the game goes on in terms of your ability to earn and your ability to buy. But it should never run out.
That's amazing.
So I go and
change the way I play this.
This is what I'm saying. I go and
I'm gonna hoard money now. I'm just gonna be like, I can't let go of this. I need to save it for whatever I need.
You know, when I start to notice that this wall was real, I was completing each section. So I would do like the first section,
a certain area,
the other section.
Yeah.
I would complete each one. I would get everything done because you would get a trophy when you did that. I got a trophy for each section, including the Badlands. When you complete everything in the Badlands, you get a trophy. So I was doing all of them. But then I was like in this one section, and I had a main story quest, and I was going to do it. But the main story quest says do other gigs and wait a day for this guy. And I was like, okay, cool. Do other gigs. So I said, I'm in this section. I don't want to go to the new section yet. I just want to redo something in this section because I'm near where the fucking quest marker is. Remember, Trip Zero, I had said to you, my ideal for playing this game would be to never fast travel, never do the time waiting bullshit, never do any of that. I haven't done any of that. I've rarely done the time wait, and it's only when I know for a fact the quest is coming up and I just do it.
I mean, me and you align on that perspective.
Yeah.
I think time waited once by accident.
Right.
And I think I did a fast travel to explore that system out of pure curiosity.
Just to see how it is. And I'm probably going to do that on a second playthrough. But, like, getting to my point, I'm in this section. They have this goes back to my point that I made about the BDs, about the fact that you can buy fucking BDs in the fucking BD shop and they lead to nothing. It's a thing in your inventory that you can sell. That's all it is. Why would I buy it to then just fucking sell it back? I bought the BD so I could experience the fucking sex BD.
It sits in the junk
why
area of
the
your
fuck can't I fucking see the naked chick in the sex BD? It's stupid. But it goes back to the fact that the fixer icons, the icons for the fixers, once you meet them, you said that what's really shitty is the fact that you always meet the fixers the same way. I think what's shitty is every time you go to a fixer, you can't get more quests. They're the fixer of the region. I can't walk up and get a Radiant quest from a fucking fixer.
That right there.
Look,
Skyrim was doing Radiant quest in 2012 when that game fucking came out. I'm sure Oblivion before that did Radiant quest. Am I right? Anyone play it? I didn't play it.
The Oblivion gates were Radiant like.
Right.
Yes.
So you can walk up, you can say, give me another quest. It gives you another quest. Even if it's mind numbing or repetitive, I want to go up to the fixer and have the fixer go, yeah, here's another quest. Go kill this fucking dumb idiot over here. Please do it in an elaborate way or do it quietly or anything. But that's where I realized there's a problem with the game because, and for me, you guys, you discovered it earlier because you had different expectations. I'm playing this game. I'm getting a lot out of it. Then all of a sudden I'm like level 50 in and I'm like, wait, I shouldn't be experiencing something that doesn't reward me at all. It doesn't give me an avenue to get rewarded. And the worst part is now I have just the story quests, and a lot of them are wait and do more gigs while you wait. And I'm like, there's no gigs left. I can't go to a fixer and get more, you fuck asses. I get nothing.
Felix,
there's nothing in the world.
Your play style of games often
breaks them.
Really hardly pushes against the walls of the game. You did this with Outer Worlds also.
Well, I
pushed against
the
framework.
No, that's in the design. No, you can't say that about Outer Worlds or Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian specifically says we want to make it so that somebody can go through our game and kill everything. They design it that way. That's intentional. I know I did
But
kill everything in the game, but like
in the process, you broke a lot of the quest mechanics and the storyline.
no,
like you broke.
No, I didn't. Those games.
You beat the game. You beat the game by killing everybody.
Yes. You can't break anything in those games. They design it with one thread that you cannot destroy. There's one thread on the baseline of the game that you have to complete. And then everything above that can go. And that's what's beautiful about both of Obsidian's titles. You have the ability to go through and murder everyone in Fallout New Vegas and not break the game. That's what's beauty. That's why Fallout 3 and 4 are problematic for me, because I couldn't do that. I wanted that option. I want that kind of moral flexibility, and you don't get that. And I wanted that.
I don't think you're being morally flexible in that situation.
No, I'm not, because I'm choosing the same path every time. I'm inflexible.
Morally malleable. That's
If I want it to be good, I could. I want that option there. But that, you know, to reinforce your point, Trip Zero, I'm also critical of this game because I can't do that. There's a lot of essential characters in this game.
I mean, I think the theme that we've all hit on using various words and experiences is that we had a certain vision for this, and then we went down a path and eventually smacked up against a wall. Not an uncommon experience in video games, but we smacked up against a wall that felt like it shouldn't exist in a game in 2020 for an experience that built itself for the way that it built itself. And I think that's really why we feel as bad as we do about this. It's because of the circumstances. It's because of how big and wide and strong these walls are. They're walls that shouldn't exist in video games in 2020, but they're all here and they're all in this game.
Because at the end of the day, Cyberpunk feels like a really, really solid open world RPG from pre Breath of the Wild. Like
right, exactly.
Yep. The moment Breath of the Wild came out was the moment that open world games evolved.
Meaning what that tells us is, because that's when it started its development, that the people who were developing it were doing it entirely in a bubble and never changed. They never changed. They never changed. They never adapted. They're not playing newer games.
Pre-Witcher 3. They feel like a pre-Witcher 3, which is also one of their games. Like Witcher 3 felt more fleshed out, probably because of the narrative that supported it.
Here's the other thing about one
amazing in Witcher. You know,
you kind of have a rail to ride on when it comes to The Witcher. The other side of it is that you don't have as much of that static noise. 80% of The Witcher's map is trees and forest and nothing. So it's just you riding from place to place, and all of your missions.
Windy ass game. That's all I remember. It's a windy ass game.
Windy as hell. But all of your missions are in the bubble of the town that you're in. So that town is an individual experience, and then you ride away from that, and then you go to the next town, and that's its own experience. So everything feels individualized. Cyberpunk feels like everything is it's like the day after Thanksgiving. Like everything is thrown onto the plate, it's all mushed together, and it all just kind of looks the same. It looks unique, don't get me wrong, but the action is the same because there's not a lot of space in between for freedom for experimentation. Like again, with The Witcher, half of my time was just riding from the top of the map to the bottom because I didn't want to fast travel.
Let me ask you guys a question with The Witcher. Do you guys have memory, just in you're looking in your mind's eye here, about The Witcher? Do you remember that as an open world game?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you guys realize it's not, nor ever was? It's not open world. It's not fully open world. The reason Diamondjab is saying that that he has to fast travel is because I actually once again pushed up against the walls of a map. In order to go from section to section in The Witcher, you actually have to leave a section, and the game has to load and go to another section.
It's hub world.
It's not it's not contiguous like Skyrim or even Cyberpunk. This is essentially their first contiguous, fully open world game. Like, because Witcher 3 was essentially a bunch of segments, think tectonic plates, if you will.
Yeah, but
and you fast travel between them. That's essentially what you're doing.
If you see, the thing about that is that that's like arguing the semantics of I closed Minecraft, I opened up the next one, and the map is different. Like, Minecraft at its core is still the same the way it's played, just because the map is different or it functions differently. I don't think takes away from the experience, especially when Velen in and of itself is about the size of Night City, not including the Badlands. Velen just on its own, not Kaer Morhen, not Skellige, just the middle kind of area is a large space.
But you didn't feel, I was just going to say, you didn't feel when you got off of the trails that you traveled between quests in that game, besides just the fact that the game would turn into a fucking mess. Like, I would run through trees and get stuck in trees. Every time I decided to leave the trail that the quest led to, I'm sorry, we're getting into the finer points of The Witcher here. I've never felt that game was a fully open world. I felt that I was on rails the whole time. Because if I went off the quest marker, it became a fucking route, like a nightmare. Like,
maybe depending on what you like ran into. It didn't have difficulty areas like Assassin's Creed, where like you could walk into a level 50 area and it just absolutely ruin your life. But I did feel like playing The Witcher was a more impressive hub world game than, say, something like Deus Ex, where all your hubs are really tiny and you're just loading from space to space. The middle section of The Witcher is so large that in and of itself is an open world game, compared to what happens in Novigrad versus the Bloody Baron versus the Witches at the Tree, or like those are all in the same space. 3 major plot narratives and threads are all in one area. So at least that section of the game feels open world, but the execution of that space is very open world. You could compare that to Skyrim, a bunch of small towns with a couple of large spaces and each one having quests of their own, not in terms of how the quests are delivered, but in terms of how the map is designed and how you're meant to get from point A to point B, at least in that space.
Yeah, I think we're just you're defining open world literally by its space. And as I'm talking, I'm defining it as what can I do in the space. It's not an open world where I have flexibility. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference in our conversation.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Trip?
If I had a thought about The Witcher, it's long gone. It was something I was going to tangent off.
I killed it.
Pass.
Let me pose a wrap-up question to everyone here, if I may, if that's okay.
You may.
With everything we experienced with Cyberpunk and being lied to and everything we just talked about, does this change your feeling or perspective or decision-making for the future? All of us talking here are pretty well-informed people. We talk about video games every day, if not bi-weekly or weekly on a podcast, right? Like, we're all very in the know with our decision-making and our ability to get knowledge from the industry. Does this affect your decision-making for, like, let's say the upcoming year or the next few hype games that you might come across that gets you really excited? Trip.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not going to be a dumb shit in the future when a game is selling me something and I really want to buy that thing that it's selling. You know, like, I can be critical as hell, but if all I have to work on is what I'm being shown and that looks good, I'm a buyer personally. Mm-hmm. And if they sell a good image, I'll probably get tricked again. Full transparency. That's all I got. I mean, it's a fact. And like, I'm a trusting person. I do try to do my due diligence, but I can only work off of what I'm shown. If anyone in the future were to give me what Cyberpunk gave me again, I would buy it again.
You were surprised though by
consider
Legion,
waiting?
right?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead, Neo.
I was just gonna say, would you consider waiting for more reviews and more? Because I know a lot of us we stream. All of us we talk about video games, so we buy games day one, right? Like, it's a thing, right? Like, we do that because that's like what we've invested ourselves into doing. But would you consider waiting for reviews in like a longer fashion, like waiting it out to really feel?
Yeah.
Because even with Cyberpunk, we didn't get the PS4 version reviewed, the last gen versions, and even people were like their outlets kind of still rating it high. And even though they were still talking about the bugs, that rating is what people like go to. Like they go to that final verdict and they go, yeah, this is good enough. It got an 8, right? Like I'm gonna go buy it. But little do they know all the plethora of experience that they had in store for them, right?
It's all gonna depend on I would say 2 things for me. How excited I am for that specific story, franchise, release, whatever you want to call it, right? If it's something I'm really excited about, I'm probably going to be in for it regardless and let me have my own experience with it based on whatever I'm shown ahead of time. I'm even someone that paid the $100 for the Division 2 to be able to play it early and get early access to all of its seasons, because that was something that I was excited for, and that yeah, big air quotes on the seasons. I was excited for, and that to me was valuable as someone who was making content with that at the time. I was like, well, if there's no other way to get this before other people, I have to do this. This is an investment. So from that perspective, I think those things factor in. Like, am I getting more value for this as someone who, am I going to play it for content, and am I getting more value for it by making this decision right now? Is it something for me that I can wait on? And is it a franchise that I literally cannot wait because I'm excited for it? Like the Harry Potter game that just got pushed back a little bit. That's a game I'm probably going to have day one, regardless of its development journey. When that game is out, I want to be there. So I think it's a very individual kind of thing. If I'm ambivalent at all, you have to prove it to me. And if I hear things in the weeks coming up saying releases are different, versions are different, stuff like that, maybe I'll wait on something I was kind of interested in. But again, if it's IP that I'm there for, I'm probably always going to be there for.
Tried to get you to play Ghost of Tsushima Trip. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when we were talking about that, and I was like, you should play it. This game is looking fresh.
That's a perfect example.
I swear to God, if Trip buys Ghost of Tsushima and plays it, I'm going to be furious. It means I came on here and he was just like it was his own idea. Hey, Neo, have you heard of this game, Ghost of Tsushima? Like, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, you should check this out.
Table flip.
Yeah. No, like that at the, like, as that got closer to release day, I was less and less excited about it, about that experience, and I turned away from purchasing that. But if I was super hype about the IP for any other reason, I probably would have scooped it. So long story short, very long rambling answer short, I don't think this changes my specific buying behavior, because the factors that I value in buying are going to be there regardless. Just being honest. And I know it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
Fine.
Felix.
My buying behavior has changed. Going back to quote adaptation, the film by, I think, Spike Jonze, great movie. Fuck fish. That's what he says in the movie. He says, I used to like fish. No, I don't like fish anymore. Fuck fish. I'm more reluctant now of pre-ordering games. I used to pre-order all the time, and I'm like, I still buy games really swiftly. So I'm like Trip Zero. If a game comes out and then there's a bit of a hype and one of you guys start talking about it because you either watched somebody play it or you played it yourself, I'm more apt to go in that direction. But the pre-order thing, like, I can't do it anymore. There's just too many games that just come out and they're just not. I've gotten to that point. Can you believe I've gotten to that point? I actually have.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Where I'm like, fuck fish on pre-ordering. Like, I'm done. That being said, amazing. Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out. I said fuck fish, didn't pre-order. Came out, got good reviews from people, still didn't buy it. Locke comes on here and goes, it's a great game. I said, oh, I love those games. I'm going to get it. And then I bought it. And within 2 or 3 weeks of the game coming out. Like, so it's like, I'm now reluctant to do the pre-thing. And I didn't. Okay, Cyberpunk, I pre-ordered a week before. It was a week before. So Cyberpunk, that's the exception. That was the only game that I think I pre-ordered in latter 2020, because I think I had a couple pre-orders in but that's when my paradigm shifted. It shifted in mid 2020, probably in response to like COVID. Like it's like I can't be just needlessly spending money on bullshit when we might run out of toilet paper. So I started thinking more heavily about that. But yeah, I think there's been a paradigm shift for me. I have to like kind of analyze a little bit more and just see. Also, there's a backlog of games that I still want to play that I never got a chance to play, that I have purchased and are in a collection, and I don't want to put anything more. There's just so much. I'm fucking, surging here. I'm it's at the brim,
You went through a long period of time where you were pre-ordering and buying all these games.
Right. Trip says to me, Watch Dogs Legion. I bought that because he said it to me, but I didn't pre-order it, didn't have it. I bought it, but it was like weeks after it came out, after he said it's a good game, and I believe you. I trust you. I value your opinion.
Had a lot of fun with it, man.
Yeah.
Diamond,
a
response to this?
Yeah, I'm kind of a blank slate. Like, I don't pre-order, but I'll buy almost anything. Because for me, if I ever feel like I have a gauge on the game industry for what is good and what is bad, it means I'm most likely going to be proven wrong by a game I don't expect. Because I'll see something on the store, I'll buy it, and immediately it'll catch me. However much money was spent on the game in terms of development, or what the developer did, or the roadmap, or whatever the case may be, irrelevant to the point. I will pretty much buy anything, as long as it appeals to my sense of what I find appealing at the time. Whether it's good, bad is indifferent to my perspective. However, on my platform, I have always said I am not the litmus test for the way that you should experience games. I'm not. I have the expendable income to be like, oh, this game is $30 and I want to play it. I'm just going to buy it. I don't think that's the responsible way, but I know that's the way that I experience the industry, because more often than not, at least my kind of meter has never really proven me wrong in terms of what I will get out of game. It's very rare that I play a game that I just go, I don't like this at all whatsoever. I will find something to like. To give you a frame of reference, I personally do not care that much for the Hitman games. I like them. I like them to the extent that I can play them and find enjoyment, but it's not my favorite game. I'm not pre-ordering Hitman 3, but I will at one point or another probably buy it. Outriders, I'm probably going to buy it. I might play a week of that game as a service game and never play it again. Cough, cough, Godfall on PlayStation. I own it. I played it. I got a little enjoyment out of it, but I'll never feel the regret of buying it. I'll never, that's not something I feel very often. I'll always find something to pull from it. But like I said, I am not the litmus test for how people should be like in this industry, just going around buying stuff.
How do you feel about like hype cycles, like what we experienced with like Cyberpunk? Because Cyberpunk's kind of an outlier, I guess you could say, but
I mean, I think it exists. I'm not really that influenced by hype cycles anymore. Like, at least to be as in tune as I was when maybe I was hosting GSM, like I was in tune with that all the time, 24/7 for educational purposes. So I was always exposed to it. I don't watch E3. I don't watch the Game Awards. I don't really watch the platforms with the widest audience to say, this is why you want to get this. I'll see like the trailer as I'm scrolling through Twitter, and seeing a trailer is usually the way that I'm exposed to something. And then I'll do my research after the fact. But like I said, I'm not really exposed to the kind of the cultural relevancy of a lot of different things. What? Hi. Yes, you can. My wife is sneaking in behind me. But yeah, Mrs. Diamond is grabbing her laptop. I'm not really exposed to all of like the kind of content bashing that you'll experience at one point or another, where it's just like, a new premiere and it's this amazing stuff, and then someone's there and they're playing it on the stage. Like I don't really watch that anymore. So like the hype behind it is prevalent, but like the games that I know I'm gonna get are games that I've invested the most time into. Destiny, I know there'll be the moment that seasonal trailer comes out, that shit is pre-ordered. The moment. But that's only because I got 6 years under it, and there's nothing that could stop me from doing it.
I could know what to expect at this point from Destiny, more or less.
I can scream from the mountaintop that I will never play it again, and they will drop that seasonal trailer or that Beyond Light trailer, and I'll go, yeah, okay,
gonna be there.
It's
I think that's
$70
kind of
right
what
there.
I was leaning into a little bit as well myself. Like I have my own lens, my own filters that I put things through. I don't think that is changing because of Cyberpunk. Because I feel like at least I did my own due diligence with Cyberpunk's offerings, advertisement wise. Like I think I observed everything that I did as neutral as I could have. Personally, looked at just the raw information, what we were given. But what we were given is you know, obviously it fell a little
the only
flat.
time, I don't think it's regret. The only time that I will notice that something's not right if I bought something is if hours don't equal dollars. That's probably when my brain will kind of go, well, why is that? If I spend $50 and I got $10 out of it.
Yeah, you said that
If
about
I spent $50 and I got 10 hours out of it. Like
you said that about the Marvel game, right?
Yeah, you can't ever argue
I
dollars
spent
versus entertainment.
$60 on Marvel. I'm up to 300 hours.
No, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I spent what was it, $40, and I got 40 hours. Like, I don't regret buying Ultimate Alliance. It's not even my favorite Ultimate Alliance out of all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only because I didn't like their XP system. But I got 40 hours out of it, so I can't complain that much. But if I spent Godfall, if I spent $50, I've probably put like 10 into it.
Yeah.
And I I get the gist of what it is. It's not really my thing. That's probably like, okay, now I know. Hack and slash, like, service games are not really my thing. Like, okay. And I bought that on the whim because Andy and I bought it discounted because we could play together. We played it, and probably like 3 hours in, we were like, all right, yeah, this is exactly what we thought it was. All right. Not surprised. But yeah, like I said, nobody, please don't invest in the industry the way I do. This is my hobby. I mean, I got 5 shelves of Skylanders to tell you how much money I'll spend on the game industry. Like
Skylanders.
I'm not a role model.
You should have led with that fact. First of all, now that I'm going to answer the question,
look at that. That's 5 shelves of these
let me
things.
show you my 5 shelves of Skylanders figures.
Yeah, man. I invested in Toys of Life like it was my job. I invested in it. But the reason I did is twofold, because I do think about things. One, it was Amy's first game that she played with me. So right off the bat, like, that was a vibe. But the second is, surprisingly enough, Skylanders works really well as like a child's introduction to games. So if the time ever came that all of a sudden we're looking at having a kid,
you're prepped.
It's a really like accessible point to both toys and games. Don't swallow this. It works with this only. It covers a lot of bases.
Mm-hmm.
But no, so yeah, I'm not a role model, as a lot of athletes have once said.
Mm-hmm. Don't look at me, me being Adrian Peterson riding a elephant in his own birthday party.
Yeah,
I'm bankrupt. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't look at the pictures of my party.
Yeah, I'm not a role model, man. Don't be like me.
I don't know why I thought of that, but it just popped in my head when he said, "Don't look at me as a role model."
Don't spend like me. Spend less than me.
On that note, guys.
Yeah, this has been a show.
This has been a juicer of a show, unexpectedly. You know,
It's never unexpected with Diamondjab. He's amazing.
I mean, that is a great point. I said unexpectedly because looking at the time frame, not a bad thing, Diamond. We have amazing conversations. That's where it comes from. But I was, I'm the unofficial timekeeper. I'm watching the time. We hit all of our general what we've been up to bullshit in about 30 minutes. I'm thinking back 30. the conversation. And here we are, the back hour 45. So it's great though, man. It's just that's why time flies, because the conversations are great. So thank you again for being here.
The hardest thing, thank you. The hardest thing for me when I was hosting a podcast was not making every show a round table.
Yeah.
Diamondjab breaks down Red Dead Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
A 6-hour 3-part episode. Oh, God. It's just Keenan and I just talking in circles about bounties and shit like that for
that's the digression where you eventually start teaching someone how to do a glitch in the game with a painting.
You know, that's the most valuable piece of info from the show right now. The fact that you can run out of money.
I am going to go do that, Felix. I haven't booted this game up since I beat it, but I'm going to go in there. No, I'm sorry. I booted up last week to answer a question you had, but beyond that, I have not played it since I beat it. I'm going to go in there and earn money from a painting.
Did you play the mission where the guys tell you to go get the UFO thing? There's 2 hobos.
No,
you talk to the 2 homeless guys, and they're like, "Go to this location in the desert and get this object from an alien." And you're like, "Okay, cool." You go there, you open it up. It's just a fucking painting that was on the moon in space. And this painting has a value of 4,000 euros, eddies, whatever. And then, like I said, you can just walk up to a machine, dump it in. The machines generally the vending machines have 20,000 euros available. So you drop the 4,000 in, and you get 4,000 euros, and then you walk away from the machine. You don't even have to walk away. You just leave the machine and go back in, and then in the machine, it's 5 euros. And you're like,
we should save this
I'll take it right back
for the post show.
In fact, I want to know if there's. Yeah, we should. Let's wrap up. But
let's wrap it. We'll
talk about that in a minute.
I was about to say it, but he felt like it was getting to the natural.
No, it's good. It's good. I started.
Play out. Yeah.
I already talked about this earlier in the show anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can keep chatting in the post show, if that's all right. So I'm gonna wrap us up, guys. Thank you for listening, Diamond. Thank you for being here. Always a pleasure having you on. I love conversing, being the cunning linguist.
The kind of linguists that we are.
Oh, the word I was looking for, Diamondjab. I looked it up. It's an 18th century. Also went into the 19th century term, but it's not what you are, because you're not this type of person. But it's because of your ability to speak. You have the ability to be this if you use your power for the dark side. But the thing I was thinking of is confidence man, because it sounds good. It sounds like a positive thing, but a confidence man is somebody that swindles you of everything you fucking
You're
own.
a spinster.
Yeah,
Danny Ocean. Danny Ocean's a confidence.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. But you have that gifted gab, and it's great.
Thank you.
Compliments.
I couldn't talk you guys into Avengers, but I could talk you guys about it.
So your confidence man leaning. Your confidence.
That's what I'm saying. He's not using his power for the dark side.
Right.
That's all.
I'm excellent. I've been Neo Yoshi. You can follow me at twitch.tv/Neo Yoshi, Twitter, Neo_Yoshi. Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe on our YouTube, podcast services around the globe. And thank you. Trip.
I am Trip Zero. You guys can find me all over at Trip Zero TV. All my socials are that. It's twitch.tv/Trip Zero TV. I stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays around, obviously Wednesdays are this show as well. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern. And right now we are doing Stardew Valley, and we will be living with that for the foreseeable future. It'll be, right now I'm doing a run on the 1.5 update, trying to get the community center bundles all done in year 1. That's my challenge run, and I have them all remixed, so things are new. It's stressful, but it's a lot of fun. Very zen, very fun. Come by, check us out. And I've been thinking about dabbling in the speedrunning community with that game, so we'll see where that goes. Felix.
I'm Felix Hergood. Find me. We got to end this show because Neo has to pee.
Find him.
Oh, I didn't know that was the end. Sorry. I didn't know that was the end of the story. My name is Diamondjab. You can catch me everywhere at Diamondjab. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm actually probably about to go stream here in a couple minutes. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. We're good.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Later.